Ho ho, we've made it. Hello,
Here.
hello.
Hi, everybody. How's everybody's night going?
Hello, hello. We're so excited to be here on the first episode of Wayseekers Cantina, coming to you live from the This is the Wayseekers studio. There's going to be no mess ups today, no edits, no nothing, just us. So without further
Raw.
ado, what? Oh, yeah, we love it raw. This is the Wayseekers. So without further ado, why don't we roll the intro? Oh,
It's so
welcome
official.
I know. Well, welcome to Wayseekers Cantina, the live version of our podcast for Star Wars fans by Star Wars fans. You guys know me. My name's Austin SWE, and I'm joined with my co-host live for the first time ever, Scotty Holiday. How does it feel to not be able to go back and edit today?
Well, I never have to do the editing, so it just feels like a normal day at Wayseeker
Right.
Studio here.
I know, but you can't say those controversial things this time. I can't save you in the editing, so you better watch out.
Be prepared for some yapping. I have to point out already, I love that Robin pointed in the chat. This is so Taco Bell coded.
Literally, the inspiration is those new chips that they released, and also Taco Bell Cantina. I literally work 5 minutes from the Taco Bell Cantina, so there may have been some inspiration going here. No,
Yeah.
but it's fun. We have like a all new look for Wayseekers Cantina, and this is something we've been wanting to do for a while, at least since we started and came back to the Wayseekers podcast just a few months ago. Obviously a lot more people are watching and listening to our podcast, and we're so
Yes.
grateful for that. But this is a great way to connect with you guys more, to have you guys as a part of our conversation. So it's going to be interesting how we do this. How do you feel, Scotty, about finally being able to kind of communicate with the audience, have a conversation? It's like there's someone there. We're not just talking to a brick wall.
We're not just talking to each other. It's so crazy how this came together because we like Austin said, we talked about wanting to do a live stream for a while and kind of figuring out how we would want to do it. And I specifically remember one night at like 4 in the morning, I started texting Austin. I was like, I have live stream ideas. I think we should do this. And I think it's just going to be so great. So we can interact with the people that watch and like actually feel like we're connected together, which is
Mhm.
like you already said, the main point of us wanting to do a live stream. So we can all hang out together versus y'all just hanging out with us or us just hanging out with ourselves. So I'm happy, and I'm happy to see so many people in the chat already.
Yes, 100%. And it's exciting too because not only do we get to talk to the people in the chat, but the way our podcast is structured, it's kind of hard to have guests on these days. So now we're able to actually like talk to our friends and have people on the podcast. As you guys know, later on in the stream, we're bringing on M. Hutzleya, and we're so excited to have her on. She's
Yes.
she's in the back in the studio right now in the dressing room. And yeah, we also don't have to worry about like algorithms and trends on this podcast because those of you that know me and Scotty personally, we're so worried about what the damn thumbnail is going to look like and
Thumbnail.
the title. We have all these great ideas, but just because you have this great idea doesn't mean that it's going to work on the YouTube algorithm. And we're happy to have anybody watching our stuff, but it's just something that we don't have to worry about with this. We can just have a conversation. We're going to be going live for probably 2 hours tonight. So yeah, it's going to be a great time.
Yeah, I'm really excited. And I have to say, hi, Coop. Hi, Robin. Hi, Eric. Let's see. We got Crystal in the chat. Hi, Zach. I think I saw Jackson. Good to see you too. I'm just so happy to have people here with us. And I'm really excited about this conversation. It's about the fandom, which we're all a part of. So I think it's going to be really fun to talk about it as a fandom and then kind of slip into the fan fiction of it all.
Yes, 100%, 100%. Well, I think that's enough of us yapping. We've been marketing the beautiful guest on this stream tonight, and we're ready to bring her out. So, without further ado, everybody, please welcome to the stream, Hutzleia M.
Hey,
Hi, everybody.
how are
Hi.
you?
Hello.
I'm so good. How are you? Are my levels good?
Yes, everything's perfect as always.
Fantastic. Okay. I did knock my gain a little, so I wanted to make sure.
Oh, I'm getting on camera anytime. I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so overexposed. I need to turn down the exposure. Well,
I know. And of course, that's the stuff that no one's here for. They're here for Star Wars. So it's so funny how much we worry about that stuff before we get on. But hello, Em. So today we're talking about the fandom and fan fiction. For those that don't know Em, she is a known Reylo, very well known in the Reylo community. That's where I know Em from.
Butterflies.
Oh, yes, butterflies. Shout out Ben Solo. Em was also on Pink Milk. She's been a guest on a lot of podcasts. So everybody knows Em. Everybody loves Em. And Em, you're known for your love of fan fiction. And I want to start by asking you, how did you actually get into, I guess, fan fiction in general, but also Star Wars fan fiction? Was that always a part of your fandom for Star Wars?
It really wasn't, actually. Yeah, no. Like, I mean, I've been a Star Wars fan since I was a little kid, but I didn't really get into fan fiction until like 2020. Panini years.
Yeah.
It feels like that was a strong year for being online in the Star Wars fandom specifically.
Truly.
I wouldn't know. I wasn't there. But from everybody else I interact with now in the fandom, it seems like everybody was just like getting into so much and getting so deep into it in 2020. But that feels crazy to me because ever since I've known you, Em, like you and fanfics and like ships like go hand in hand. So to hear that only started in 2020, that's crazy.
Right.
Well, I mean, I had experience with fanfic before that. Like it was just in a different fandom. Like it wasn't so much in Star Wars. Like I didn't really feel the need to like make my own stories or enjoy other people's versions in the Star Wars universe until 2020. But I have a very embarrassing story about getting into fanfiction.
Oh.
Do you want to
what
share?
the people are here
If
for.
you're gonna press me on it.
Of course, you brought it up. Now you got to tell us.
Don't twist her arm now.
So, okay. Well, firstly, I did write some stuff around the Buffy fandom way back when.
I love that.
I was a huge fan of Buffy, like when it was originally airing. And because I am, years old. And
oh no.
And yeah, so I did watch it when it was originally airing, and I did write some stuff. Actually, funnily enough, I started with Buffy the same way I started with Star Wars, which was with poetry. Yeah. And yeah, I wrote some poems that I'm actually pretty proud of. And yeah, and I wrote one sort of fanfic that I posted online in the Buffy fandom. And then in 2006, Madonna was on tour, and she had this really hot dancer. And I was super involved in the online forums, like back when message boards were a thing. And so I was like on the online forums, like just like talking with other fans all day, every day.
Right.
And
as one does.
People started lusting over this dancer. And then people started writing sort of like a fun, like we started doing like a funny story thread about like Madonna being intimate with this like hot dancer.
Right.
I love that.
So I ended up basically writing like erotic RPF about Madonna on a dare from the people in this thread. It eventually got locked by the moderators of the message board because they felt that it was getting out of hand.
Oh no.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But so I moved it to LiveJournal, and I
Mhm.
just wrote a bunch of erotic stories about Madonna on LiveJournal.
I have to bring up Coop's comment or post here saying, was it Spuffy? I assume that's Spike and Buffy.
It is.
Okay.
It's a great ETL ship. I don't know. No, that didn't really pique my interest. I mean, I love an
The
ETL
ETL
ship.
ship. I was about
I
to say it
mean,
didn't pique
like,
your interest.
well, I think it's just because of who Spike and Buffy are and like the context of the show. Like, I never particularly identified with those characters. So, yeah.
Yeah, understandable. And I'd much rather see okay, I don't want to get too into Buffy here, but I had to bring this up. Drew, Spike, and Angel. There was some chemistry there.
Original throuple. Oh yeah, no, I was super into that throuple for
I
sure.
was like, watching those episodes when Angel goes bad again, I was just like, oh my god. Like, there's some tension here, but I love that. I love that it started with Buffy.
Yeah.
I love that too, because this might be a shock to some people. Back in the day, I was also into fan fiction before I got into the Star Wars fandom. But from my era, people know I'm younger than these two. YouTubers, YouTube fan fiction, like Tyler Oakley and Troye Sivan, or I mean, Tyler Oakley, Troye Sivan, that was more of like a popular one, but there was like even some like niche ones. Like some of these names you can't even say anymore. Like they're just horrible people. They've become horrible people. But you know, I used to love like the Joey Graceffa, Shane Dawson, or like yeah, there was a ton that I was into, and I always look back and cringe because the type of fan fictions too was like, oh my gosh, yes, fanfic, Dylan fan, oh my god. So integral to my my childhood.
Okay, hold on. For those of us who don't know what that is, can you give a little context?
Dylan fan, they're YouTubers, and they were always friends, you know, but they were so clearly something going on. They had a YouTube channel together, and then people would write fan fictions, but the thing is too that's fun about fan fiction is that it's not all just, you know, relationships and yearning. That's obviously a huge part of it.
Yeah.
But I even used to love the ones back in the day of like my favorite YouTuber adopted me. I used to love those fan fictions.
That's so sweet and innocent. That's lovely. It truly is. It truly is wholesome. I love it.
Yeah. So I always wondered like the type of, I mean, there's so many Star Wars fan fictions. There's I mean, we'll talk like on Discord and you'll say something like that just sounds so fucking cool. Like I remember the one you told me about, and hopefully you could give us more insight on this one. The fic of If Padme Amidala lived, and it's kind of a Beauty and the Beast style.
Yes, I love that one.
Yes, I know you described it as like a Beauty and the Beast style fan fiction with Vader and Padme and Vader's castle. Oh, it sounds so good. I still don't know why I haven't read that one because it
should read it.
It feels very romantic when you romanticize it and like a Beauty and the Beast, and then you mention Vader's castle and the whole thing. I'm like, do we get to be our guest scene or what?
Right.
Well, you know, actually, one of the really interesting things that happens in the fic is Vader takes Padme to this room where he has it's like a viewing room where basically he has these drones that can travel, like do interplanetary travel, so they can go anywhere in the galaxy, so you can remotely view anywhere you want to see. And he like lets her see Naboo.
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh my gosh.
I know, right?
It makes me think of this is going to sound so stupid. It makes me think of the on Disney Plus, you know, that biomes thing that they posted where they just show like Star Wars planets and it basically is a screensaver. Like I imagine it in that sense. And by both your faces, neither of you look like you know what I'm talking about. It's a thing.
I don't.
It is a thing. It's under Disney Plus original content. And like yeah, it's just
I have seen that. Yeah, and
I have seen that. Yes, because they did that, and they did that right after, like they released the ship walkthroughs first, right? And then they did the biomes. Yes, and you get to see crates.
Yes, I used to use
pretty
those for
cool.
backgrounds as my
Cool.
YouTube videos.
Yeah.
I love
Back
that.
when I didn't show my face.
Not
So
to derail on biomes.
no, we're good. This is Wayseekers Cantina. Like I said, we're not sticking to any script. Um, so when I'm sure you've answered this question 100 times. Anybody that's been on Star Wars podcasts always gets asked this fucking question. How did you get into Star Wars? I just want to provide the context here for people.
I've gotcha. Okay. So my babysitter had a VHS copy of Return of the Jedi.
Oh.
And so she would put it on, like, she was sort of my after school care because, school would let out earlier than my mom would finish work because she was an office worker. So she would finish at like 5 or 5:30. So, yeah. So I would go to my babysitter's house, and sometimes to amuse me, she would put on Return of the Jedi on VHS. And I was obsessed. And then when my mom realized that I loved this movie, she encouraged me to take an interest in Star Wars because of the fact that because she was a feminist, and so she really approved of Princess Leia, and like a princess who saves herself,
yes,
and and yeah, for sure, yeah. So, she made me a Princess Leia costume for Halloween.
Oh my gosh!
It was like the white satin dress. And I loved it, and I wore it until it like literally fell apart at the seams.
We're gonna need to see photos of this at some point. We'll have to get them out of the archives.
I'll see if I can dig some up. But and it was funny too because my dad made me a blaster. Like, he made it out of wood in his workshop. And so it was just like literally like a solid block of wood, but it was just shaped like a blaster.
Oh wow.
And he painted it black. And
nice.
So when I was trick-or-treating, I got to a woman's house, and she was like, "Oh, you're an angel." And I showed her my blaster, and she's like, "An angel with a
gun." Angel gone bad. Oh no.
Somehow that still feels on brand to you. Angel with a gun. Like,
yeah. That's very coded. I mean, Scotty's no stranger to a Princess Leia costume.
Truly, yes.
2 instances.
You really do pull it off.
It's the bald head. It's the bald head with the wig, and it's the brown hair. It looks so natural when I put it on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's such a great way to get into Star Wars too, because it's like you said, that feminist icon through Princess Leia. That is that's such a great way to get into Star Wars and kind of understand the mythos of it all, and the messaging behind these things in these stories. I love that. I also am so nostalgic for the VHS tapes of Star Wars, even though I am, was born way past that time. I have the ones that I watched. I have both the special edition and the one they released. It was the last one before they released the special edition. So the last box set. There's like even a little note from George that they're working on the special edition, and this is the last time it'll ever be released in this format.
Wow.
I bet that's really expensive for resale now.
Yeah, but not my copy, because those ones are ran through. But
are these the ones that have the faces on each case for the VHS, or are these a different set?
Yeah, I have that one with it has like Yoda and the Stormtrooper and
Vader,
yes.
Yeah.
And then the other one I have is the gold box, the first special edition that they released. So yeah,
I love that. I feel like for me, I also watched a lot of the original trilogy from the beginning too, but I had the silver original trilogy pack. I don't know what the difference is between the gold one and the silver one, but I had the silver one.
And it was VHS, because I remember a silver DVD.
No, it was DVD. That's probably the difference. That's probably why it was silver, not gold.
I remember it. I have so many versions of the damn Star Wars movies. I have them all on 4K, and then I have most of them on Blu-ray, and then I have on DVD, and then the VHS. I'm like, so I'll never, and now Disney Plus, so I'll never run out of ways to watch Star Wars.
Did I? Okay.
Gold and silver was pan and scan versus widescreen. Thank you, old Mr. Chris.
Did I tell you all that I was able to find a video disc copy
Are those the big, like, giant?
No, those are
Oh.
Laserdisc. Those are different. So
Oh,
video
okay.
disc came between Laserdisc and DVD.
Oh.
Interesting.
I found it on Facebook Marketplace and it was only like $20, and I was like, yoink.
Oh wow.
Do you have anything to play it on?
You can just play it on a computer drive, like a disk drive. Yeah.
Is there anything special with that version of it, or is it just
I-
rare because of the
It's
actual
just rare because of the
format?
format. Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. I love that. Ooh, okay, so then I want to ask again, sorry, I know it's a question you get asked all the time as a podcaster.
No, it's fine. I'll answer as many times as anyone wants to ask.
Perfect. So then you became a Star Wars fan and then into the online fandom. When did that happen? Was it also 2020?
Yeah, that was also 2020 when I like really jumped in with both feet. I mean, I was sort of a casual fan once I got older and like had other interests. And you know, I mean, Star Wars was always something that I enjoyed, and like I was always down to watch Star Wars if it was on TV. You know, and I obviously like I was familiar with the story and characters and all that stuff, but I wasn't like a super extra mega nerd for it for a big chunk of my life. And then when the sequel trilogy came out in 2015, I like just like grabbed me super hard and just never let go. And I've been here ever since. Yeah. So I kind of had like a little bit of like a waning and then a waxing again. Yeah. Because like I went to see the prequels in theater, you know, because of my general interest in the franchise. And oh, Blue Milk's here. Hello.
Hey, Blue Milk.
Yeah, so like I said, I was just kind of enjoying it on like a casual surface level. But then yeah, when the sequel trilogy came out, I was like just full on.
And that's really interesting because I feel like my story into Star Wars is very similar to that, where it was like I liked it as a kid, it kind of waned, and then once the sequel trilogy started gearing up and it got announced, I got back into it, which is I feel completely different from you, Austin, because you kind of just hit the ground running when you started with it. You was like you got the original trilogy, you got introduced to that, and then the sequels came out like, or they started coming out shortly after, and you've been in this fight since then.
Yeah, since I was 6 years old.
Thank you. You got the reference. Good.
Yeah, it's so interesting, like thinking back to how different it was. Because for me, I got into this online fandom right after Force Awakens into Rogue One. And that was obviously a very different fandom. You know, there was yes, baby Austin. Yeah, I was like 15, 14 years old at this time when I started my page. And yeah, people were so much more excited about Star Wars, I guess. There had only been Star Wars Rebels and The Force Awakens. And, you know, people hated on Rebels, but, you know, it held us over.
That was the only discourse back then. It was like, oh, it's ugly. Clone Wars are so pretty. Rebels looks basic.
Exactly. Or the filler episodes. People, because I mean, to be fair, the way Star Wars Rebels was set up is you'd be following one story and then they move on to something else for 3 episodes and then they go back to that original story.
I'd be like, so Zeb and Chopper need to go get some fruit from this remote place.
Yeah, but I mean, I was like I said, 14 years old, so I was like, this is fucking peak storytelling, dude. And for anybody to even suggest that the Clone Wars is better, I mean, like back then, that's literally how I thought. I was like, how could anybody say that the Clone Wars is better than Star Wars Rebels? But it's so interesting, the conversations back then, because it felt so much more extensive, and I think a lot of that has to do with like how much content has actually come out. Since, you know, because back then it was one movie a year and then a TV show. So that one movie a year had to carry the conversation for a year. And it did. Right. We talked about every last fucking detail, where it's now like, when was the last time you heard someone bring up Skeleton Crew, a show that came out 3 months ago?
Literally. Yeah. I forgot about it when I was looking at a list recently. It was last night, just of the live action Star Wars shows. I was like, oh shit, we haven't like like I'm seeing stuff for Acolyte. People are still like renew the Acolyte.
Yeah.
What happened to the Skeleton Crew season 2? Like, let's make sure that happens. We all kind of forgot about it, and I feel bad because I had so much fun with that show. But that's the thing. Even looking at the live action shows, we have, I think it's 7 right now, and that's not even counting like Ahsoka season 2, if you can count different seasons. But either way, that's 7 different shows we've gotten since I think 2021. Whereas before we had these maybe 3 or 5 years of an actual movie, and then like 10 years of a break.
Yeah.
It's just insane how we move on so quickly from them as a fandom.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously there's a lot more negativity, and there's a lot of vitriol and that whole side of things on primarily on YouTube and Twitter these days.
I was gonna say back over on X.
Don't ever call it that, please.
X derogatory.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It just feels so different. And I think a big part of that too is fan fiction and headcanons were talked about so much more back then too, because there's less content, I guess. So we used to look at every single like character and think of their background and things, and now it's just every character shows up again. Or like the Mandoverse, you get introduced to these characters, you see so much of them. I feel like, I guess there's almost less room for the theorization to kind of happen, or like the speculation, and
because it was the fans filling it in before.
Exactly.
And now we have the actual Lucasfilm filling in these blanks for us.
Exactly. And it's something I want to ask you, Em, because you are big into fan fiction, and something I've heard a lot in my years in the fandom is this idea that having like headcanons, or like shipping, like for example, you ship Rey and Kylo Ren, right? And then the Rise of Skywalker happens, and yes, they kiss, but it kind of just shits all over the concept of Reylo, because without Ben Solo alive, what the fuck is the point? And then you get really attached to like Ben Solo and his journey just for him to die. Do you feel like that is a bad thing, that you kind of get attached to this idea of like Ben Solo? It was never like promised, I guess, that he was going to stay alive or whatever. Is it bad to have expectations, and is it bad to have those expectations dictate how you feel about the actual Star Wars canon?
So I'm a very unique person to speak to about this, because like I've talked about this before, how I don't go in with expectations. I don't have expectations. I find it, I don't enjoy speculating as much as other people do. In fact, sometimes I find it frustrating, because like when I am enjoying the official canon version of Star Wars, like I'm willing to just take whatever the writers give me. Like as long as I get a good story, that's all I want. But I mean, I think part of that is it's not necessarily that fan fiction and the existence of headcanons makes that more frustrating or worse. It actually makes it better, because it means that it's like there's always going to be a little corner of Star Wars that belongs to the people that play in the sandbox. Right? Exactly. So it's like like that is, and I mean, I can't speak for other fan communities, but I know that in the Reylo community, like that's the overwhelming attitude, is it's like, like obviously fan fiction is a hobby. It's something we do for free. So it's like, as long as nobody's profiting off of it, just do what you want. Like these characters can belong to you. They can be like your paper dolls. Exactly. And if you're not hearing the story that, I'll talk to Eric about that in a second. But it's like, but yeah, it's like, you kind of have, but it's an attitude, right? It's an attitude that you have to choose to have, and a perspective that you have to choose to take on. It's like, just because one story is the official story doesn't mean that it's the only story that matters.
Right.
You have to be willing to let fan content matter. But like once you make that choice, this whole world opens up to you, right?
Exactly.
So it's like, you know, yeah, okay, so the writer's room didn't tell the story that I wanted to hear, but there's like literally like 35,000 fics in the Rey Kylo tag on Ava 3. Like there's more content out there than I could possibly enjoy in a lifetime. Like I'm spoiled. I'm spoiled for Reylo stories because all of these people who are smart and funny and amazing writers and good at what they do and passionate about their art have all come together to contribute something, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think that's beautiful. Like I choose to see the positive in that, you know?
Exactly.
And it's like, you know, you just have to have like this divide in your mind between it's like, you know, canon, Star Wars is canon. And also you have to think about like sort of who does the story belong to, right? It's like, it's okay for official Star Wars to have the story that belongs to them. And like, but there's no like blurring of lines because it's like, I already know that I can take that and I can make a new story if I want to. So I don't have to depend on them to tell the story that I want, which means that if they don't tell that story, I'm not going to get mad.
Exactly.
So
like
true.
it's like when people get angry because they don't hear the story that they think they're entitled to, like I just feel like that's so counterproductive and it's a total dead end because it's like, you know, out of the entire world, there's only a handful of people that are ever going to be in those rooms writing official Star Wars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't get to control those people and you don't get to decide what they do. So, you know, trying to like get upset about it or have a tantrum or whatever, or feel entitled to have the official story go a certain way is just like, that's just so toxic. It'll poison you.
Oh yeah.
I think it's just like, and at the end of the day, it's like, how do you want to live your life? Do you want to live your life as like a cranky, entitled person, like putting red laser eye thumbnails on YouTube?
Literally.
You know, or do you want to be somebody who has this beautiful story that they can appreciate with characters that resonate with them, plus all of the extra content that all these passionate people are making?
Yeah. That's a great way to think about it because in that sense, Star Wars can never, you know, people always talk about Star Wars is dead. This project came out, it just killed Star Wars. But when you look at it that way, Star Wars could never truly die because it's always alive. Even if they were to stop making official Star Wars, there's never going to stop being unofficial Star Wars. You're never not going to be able to open AO3. And I agree with you. That's why I wanted to ask you, and you kind of, you know, are backing up what I think here as well with the fact that I think fan fiction is actually better and makes a healthier fandom because, you know, you can say, oh, you have your expectations set on this and you're going to get upset. But at the end of the day, like you said, there's so much, there's all these fics, right? Like that's something that I did after Rise of Skywalker. I read so many different versions of fics. And it's funny because to me, there's a different idea of what the fix-it of Rise of Skywalker looks like. So I would read a fix-it fic and be like, you got it wrong too. You're just as fucking bad as JJ Abrams, quite honestly, but it's their story. That's what they wanted to tell. That's what they felt like. So it's different for everybody. So yeah, I kind of hate when people try to act like it's a bad thing, or, you know, I think people too try to tie it into like the way people have expectations going into something, like for example going into The Last Jedi, being like, I expect Luke Skywalker to, you know, be the hero he was in the original trilogy, and doing something crazy and a huge action sequence with him and a big lightsaber duel and all this, and then it doesn't happen, and then you're upset about it.
Yeah. Well, I just have to say, and I've already said this to you too, actually, when we had our Last Jedi appreciation stream, but I like what I said so much, I'm going to say it again.
Please
which
do.
Is that I feel like part of the reason people were so angry about the way that film went was because it not only didn't contain the hero's journey, but it refuted it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like all of the things, all of the elements in a story that usually bring like honor or resolution, you know, those kinds of like positive things, like those rewarding things. In the Last Jedi, they're punished.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, when we spoke about it, you pointed out that it's more of the heroine's journey instead.
Yes, it is. That's the thing, is the heroine's journey instead. So the idea of the hero's journey is the idea of like going on this quest to find something that's missing and to acquire a missing thing or a treasure, right? Like that's what the hero's journey basically is, right? Whereas the heroine's journey is a journey of healing. It's a spiritual shamanic journey where somebody goes through an emotional transformation of healing. Something is broken. Not something is missing, something is broken, and it gets healed through like feminine energy, through mystery, through intuition. And so, you know, it's like we see in The Last Jedi, like Rey runs into mystery. She runs towards mystery, right? And it is compassion and intuition that ends up, you know, changing the way that the story goes and bringing them closer to victory. It's not being a hothead and going off and like, you know, pew pew pewing, right?
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And it as you're talking about, it just makes me think of her the whole time. She's like, I need to figure out who my parents are. That's what'll heal me. And then by the end, she's like, oh, like it doesn't matter who they were, but I can still be a strong hero because at the end of the day, she's the one that, you know, lifts those rocks and gets everyone's safety.
That's right. And so, yeah, so I think a lot of the hostility towards The Last Jedi is not just that it isn't a hero's journey, it's that it refutes it. It refutes the idea of a hero's journey being the only path to victory.
Yeah.
Which I think was brilliant. I mean, I love the fact that Ryan brought that energy to Star Wars. Like, I feel like that is a gift. For the fandom, you know?
Well, especially when we have, you know, slave Leia and Padme and this like male gaze on these female characters. And it's nice to have something that is more female focused, but not in like a sexual way, not from like a male gaze, just as another hero.
Yeah.
And I don't understand either how people could act like men specifically, how they could act like it doesn't speak to them as well, because a lot of men, speaking as a man, you know, there's so many the idea of healing and finding the thing that's going to heal you is I feel like everybody can relate to that, or relate to Rey's journey within the sequel trilogy. You know, and women and non-binary people will tell you all the time that they've had to connect with Luke fucking Skywalker and all these other male characters this whole time. So surely you'll be able to connect with Rey. Not that, you know, if you think Rey is a bad character, that's totally fine. It's just I hate the idea that Rey was here to like demasculate men or whatever. I hear that take all the time. Like, you know, she was there to take Luke's place. She's very much there to put men in their place. And I just never saw that from Rey as a character. I think Rey was trying to put herself in her own place.
Yeah, that's total projection. I mean, that's this whole like zero sum idea, right? That if one person is getting something, it means another person is losing it.
Right.
But I mean, but again, I mean, the beautiful thing about the world of art is that it just multiplies. Like that doesn't exist. There's an infinite amount of space in the world for art, right?
Exactly. And it goes hand in hand with what you said about fan fiction. I mean, I saw Tony Gilroy kind of talk about this recently he was saying he pitched to Kathleen Kennedy like a horror movie, a Star Wars sitcom, because there's so much room for these different avenues. And he said that Kathleen Kennedy was kind of exploring like opening different channels up with like different genres and things like that. And it's something that's so cool about Star Wars because at the end of the day, if they're telling a good story and focusing on telling a good story, it doesn't really matter what it ends up being because there's something for everybody. There's something to enjoy for everybody. And all you're seeing is another person's perspective. Now, of course, there's plenty of examples. This is the Wayseekers podcast. So I'm not going to come up here and act like I'm not the negative Nancy of this show. There's definitely cases where I feel like they're not focused on telling a good story, and it's harder to be like, it's harder to look at fan fiction to something like Book of Boba Fett, where it's connected to the Mandoverse. It's so ingrained with what they're doing there.
Honestly, Book of Boba Fett just felt like fan fiction that, like,
honestly, I feel that you
Favloni was doing. I mean, this is just Favloni's fan fiction, really. Like, that's what it was. It was their fan fiction project. So, like,
that's true. That's true. It's just harder to.
The only difference is that they have Lucasfilm money, and I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Very, very true. And they have Tamara Morrison ready to go.
Oh yeah. Wow.
It's so funny though, Austin, you mentioning that too, because something else we've talked about on the podcast. We did a whole episode about it, about how Star Wars succeeds when it's different and it tries different things, which I feel like is kind of a big part of fan fiction as well. Is that it goes different avenues that the main canon doesn't go or doesn't take the time to go.
Yeah,
and I love that.
Yeah, Star Wars, there's just so many different ways to look at it. Gosh, I feel like the whole live stream aspect is starting to show here, where we can't pause. Okay, what's next? What are we going to talk about next?
Did you have any more questions for me?
No, oh no, I don't mean that the conversation ends here. There's plenty of things. I was just more talking, continuing what we were talking about here. Yeah. So in conclusion here, I think that fan fiction is good for Star Wars, and it creates a healthier fandom there.
I agree, because like if you had come to a different conclusion, it would just be like friendship over, and I would just leave the studio forever.
Exit stream.
I was almost wondering, like, if you had seen some of the marketing I did for the episode, because for those that don't know, M really didn't know much of what we were talking about before we brought poor M on. I had mentioned, like, we're gonna talk about this idea that fan fiction ruins enjoyment of canon, and I was like, I hope M doesn't read that and think that I'm about to like grill her, because this is something I believe. I was like,
besides, like, I mean, look, we're friends. I mean, even if you did want to grill me, I would just take it in good faith. It would all be, it would be
That's
fine.
why we love M. That's why we love you. Well, then I guess in gosh, I can't think of the phrasing here. In lieu of what you're saying there with grilling you, I want to ask you about the Reylo fandom. A fandom that we both share. I'm active, or I guess I was active in the Reylo fandom back in the day. I still see, the rumblings.
More active than I even knew, because when we've talked about the elusive Reylo PowerPoint, I didn't even know, Austin, that you were a Reylo. And speaking of, who else is? Who else is one of my coworkers? I was looking at her like water bottle the other day, and I saw a fucking Reylo sticker on her water bottle. I said, I said, is it a Reylo sticker? And she's like, yes, why? And she's the same age as you, Austin. So I bet it was, I was like, you grew up with that trilogy. So like you're ingrained with these characters. And she thought I was saying it like in a nasty way. I was like, no, like these are the characters you grew up with. So it makes sense why you're so connected to them. So you being a Reylo also makes sense, because this was your trilogy. And I could tell she was so embarrassed. She thought I was going to like make fun of her. I was like, girl, no, like no. I'm saying I get it.
I mean, Reylos have been through the mud, so I totally understand why she would kind of have that defense up. Like, oh, come on now. Yeah, the Reylo
That
fandom.
that does not surprise
I
me.
swear, my homie had a Reylo trash sticker a week after the movie came out. See, that's
Yeah.
the thing. That's what. So Reylo is so much bigger than you'd actually think, and it goes across so many people, so many different types of people are into Reylo. You'd be surprised. It's just one of those things that not everybody that's into Reylo is going to be online talking about it because
It's
we know
true.
books like Ali Hazelwood. Those are like top sellers, like number
Yeah.
one best-selling books.
Yeah.
And they're based off of Star Wars fan fiction or fan fiction that she wrote about Rey and Kylo Ren,
Yep.
and just turning it into its own story. And so it's basically become like its own genre. I mean,
well, and did you see that? Well, you know how like my friend Thea wrote the Hurricane Wars, right?
Mhm.
And Monsoon Rising. Did you see that when it was on the New York Times bestseller list, somebody mentioned it to Daisy Ridley, and she was like, "That's so cool."
I
Oh,
love that for
wow.
Daisy Ridley, and I love that for your friend.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
I
that
love
is
that
so fucking
not only
cool.
did Daisy Ridley found out about your friend's fan fiction, but also that like your friend had that fan fiction that was mentioned. That's so cool.
Mhm. And
They're
isn't the
great
website
books. The third
Yeah.
one's gonna come out like next. A Monsoon Rising only just came out, and
Mhm.
then there's gonna be a third one to finish up the trilogy.
Wow. I mean, so many Reylo fanfic authors have become actual authors, not even just from like publishing their own Reylo fanfics. Like I know I have a friend, Alex, who she wrote I met her through Reylo, and she cosplayed Kylo Ren with her partner, and
That's
it
cute.
was beautiful. And she was huge into Reylo, and now she has a book coming soon, like an actual published book through a
Yeah.
publisher. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is so fucking cool to see. Like, you started, I mean, I think she had started in different fandoms, but like she became a prominent fanfic writer in the Reylo fandom. I'm like, it's just so cool to see the opportunities that come from that. And it's weird because I've been in the fandom since, like I said, that period between Force Awakens and Rogue One. Back then, it was like Reylo was like a meme where people were like, "This Reylo shit." Like they would make memes about like how weird Reylos were. Especially, I remember after the Force Awakens Blu-ray had come out, um, people just it was just a meme, like because when that poster came out, the celebration artwork of Kylo holding Rey, that's when it was
Yeah.
like it officially became like a thing. Like people actually shipped Rey and Kylo Ren, and it was like an actual big thing. It was an actual corner of the Star Wars fandom, and people were just so vicious and rude to them.
Yeah.
And I never understood
know.
why. And then of course there's the whole side of it where people try to bring in like morality into it, where it's
It's
like
so dumb. I'm sorry.
yeah,
I
it's
can't deal.
insanely fucking dumb.
I can't deal.
I
Like
just had to look up the poster, and I was like,
oh yeah.
this is kind of hot.
Mhm.
That was officially licensed artwork. Like
Yeah.
Star Wars posted that.
Yeah.
on
I
their
kind
shit.
of love it, to be honest.
That's when people were like, "Holy shit!" You know, like it's a
Yeah.
thing. And then the Last Jedi came out and actually started to like vindicate Reylo. You know, it.
Oh, people, did you ever see the Twitter post where somebody literally predicted Force
The Force
bonds?
Bond. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Like the
mhm,
Reylos knew that was going to happen before anything official
mhm.
happened. Like people were writing that into fan fiction.
Yeah.
Little did they know it wasn't just the Force Awakens, and there was something else awakening, and it was the Reylo portion of the fandom, and then
Facts.
predicting shit.
True facts.
Yeah.
No, but like, so before we get away from the topic of like officially published Reylo, like, you know, it's not just Ali Hazelwood. Like there's like Katie
Hello.
Shepherd, bear with me. There's the person who wrote the one about color, like about people, a world where people can only see in black and white, and then when they meet the person they love, it turns to color. Like that was also an officially published Reylo fic.
So
There's There's Knives, Seasoning and a Dash of Love by Katrina Kwan, also originally Reylo fic. There's You Again by Kate Goldbeck, which is my favorite one out of all the published Reylo fics, by the way. If you only buy one, get that one because it's the best one. And she's got a second book coming out, and I cannot wait to read it. I'm so excited. There's Deliver Me. There are so many books in the romance section right now are written by Reylos. Plus there's those cute little ones by Sarah I think it's Rosh, is pronounced Rosh, Raach. And those are Kylux fics that were turned into published books. So the shippers are like all up in that romance section right now. Like,
well, and it's funny
bananas.
too. You mentioned it earlier, but like when you made the joke about not having Lucasfilm money, like these people that are writing these fics, they're not starting them out and pitching them to Lucasfilm. No. They're just somebody who is good at what the story that they're telling, and because they put it out, they're now getting these opportunities. So honestly, like I feel like that's not necessarily talked about as much. Like fanfic can give you an opportunity and like actually start a career in publishing your own stories, which is so cool.
Yeah. Plus I have other friends who've self-published. There's been a couple. So yeah.
It's a whole genre. I mean, I know enemies to lover was always a thing, but I feel like Reylo really broadened it. And there's like you mentioned Kylux, there's so many ships too that are, you know, way more popular than you'd think, like Ginger Rose, Hux and Rose. That's a big one.
It's a
and
huge
you wouldn't
one.
Expect it. Yeah. And I love it because it comes from like crumbs. Like the big one for Ginger Rose is the deleted scene where Rose bites Hux's
finger. Yeah.
So yeah, I love
and it's really funny because like in all of the fics, like basically like the fanon for Ginger Rose is that Hux is just like completely whipped. Like he's just like completely devoted to Rose, who just like rides him like a pony. Like it's very funny.
I love it. Yeah.
Hey,
love
Brian.
Hey Brian.
Hello. The interesting thing about Reylo is, like I said, it's not interesting, it's quite sad actually. They've been dragged through the mud by not only the fandom itself, but I feel like Lucasfilm, like, I guess it's not like they're intentionally being like, I fuck these Reylos, we're gonna target them. But I was talking to Scotty about this the other day. Think about it. The Last Jedi comes out and it's like Reylo field day. Like it's so Reylo, it's amazing. Of course it wasn't like Endgame, but it started like official canonical Reylo. And then the Rise of Skywalker comes out, and yes, there's the kiss, and people always love to bring up the kiss because it's like, what are you upset about? They got to kiss. It's everything you wanted, right?
And it's a good kiss too.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's a good kiss. Austin. Come on.
Go rewatch that scene. If I was getting hot and bothered by a man and a woman kissing, like it's a good kiss.
Well, we all
There's
have
so many good things about that kiss.
Yeah, I like the scene. But then like Ben Solo dies, so it's like everything that Reylo kind of, you know, obviously they got to be together, but there was so much more to the relationship behind Reylo, and you know, kind of what these characters needed and wanted and needing each other. And it just feels so, at least at the time, it felt so weird to think of Rey's story at that point moving on without Ben and without Kylo. So obviously that sucks for Reylos. And then I saw so many Reylos started getting back into Star Wars with the Acolyte.
Yes.
Osha and Qimir, and a lot of like well-known Reylos too. I think her name is Jess, directed by Ryan, is one of them. Huge Reylo. She's the one behind that video, if you've ever seen the Rise of Skywalker at the theater. It was a Reylo.
Yes.
It was a Reylo screening.
It's a Reylo screening, yeah.
They love to leave out that part when they repost it, because you know, people would post that video and leave out the context of the fact that it was a private screening between Reylos. But it's that video where they're like, turn it off, like where it's the ending scene with Rey, and she's like, Rey Skywalker, and they're like, fuck this, and they all start leaving. I love that video.
And that's some dramatic shit we would do if we went together.
And shit. Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
But I saw she got back into it, and then it's like, oh, there's no season 2, and there's Osha Qimir. It's not gonna happen, I guess, at least on screen. And
you know what? It was such deja vu too, because at the end of season 1, like I literally, okay, first I had to like stop myself from screaming when I watched it, because I watched it at like 1:00 in the morning.
Oh.
Because it had been like, you know, like a long day with my kid, whatever. And so like whenever the Acolyte whenever a new episode would release, I would like wait until the very end of my day. And then I would like turn off all the lights and, you know, like put in my good contacts and like, so I could have like a nice experience of watching it, right?
Contacts.
And, you know, like the final scene of that show, it's like you see, you know, Osha and Qimir are standing next to each other, and like his hand wraps around the saber along with hers. And I immediately tweeted, erotic hand holding, Reylo's "We have won the Star Wars."
I feel like I remember seeing that tweet too.
Yeah. And I was we felt so good. Like we felt like okay, Star Wars is for us again. And then they're like, canceled. And we were like, well, this feeling is familiar.
Yeah, I'm like that. It sucks. Like I want to ask you, like, I mean, I think you talked about it pretty much with like you said fan fiction being a big part of like fix-its, and I'm sure that, you know, Osha Qimir lives on through, you know, tons of different fan fictions. I'm sure that tag is popping.
Yeah. Actually, you know, one of my favorite authors of all time, like an author that's so influential, I have a line from one of her fics tattooed on my arm. Oh, she was like one of the first 5 people to post an Osha Qimir fic.
Oh, I love that. That had to have been like probably what, like second episode of the show or whatever. Like it had to have been early on.
No,
right?
You know what is interesting? The fics actually didn't start coming until the series had finished.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have thought that the yearning, well, I'm sure it started like the conversation. I know it takes.
Oh yes, people were tweeting for sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
When did the yearning first start?
But I want to ask you, and like I said, I think you've pretty much touched on it, but how do you kind of cope with that? Like kind of feeling like your avenues of Star Wars have kind of been shut down officially, at least.
I just keep waiting for the next thing because like you never know. I mean, even with Ben being dead, like we're getting all this Kylo content with the Legacy of Vader
and that's
comics.
A good comic, at least from what I've seen. I read the
first and they're feeding the Reylos. They are. You know? So like we're getting
all the
some
Amidala connections.
Yeah. And like and also like showing Ben's vision of like Rey on the throne and him next to her, like it's like
him next to her. In what context? Like
he's wearing his Kylo outfit with his like broken helmet, like his
and he's supporting his woman who is on the throne.
Who's on the throne as like a dark Rey.
That's hot. See, I love it.
I'm pretty sure there was a deleted scene from the movie with scenes of Rey on the throne next to Kylo.
Yeah,
there was a lot of stuff deleted, and
I was gonna say, well, we'll never see them. They'll never see the light of day.
It's okay.
Skywalker.
All of the other movies when they released on Blu-ray had such a heavy focus on the deleted scenes. Like Force Awakens, Last Jedi, I could tell you like 8 scenes that are deleted from each one. With Rise of Skywalker, they didn't release one. Not one deleted scene. And mind you, we know that they did reshoots and all sorts of shit.
Oh, yeah. Adam was in his closet recording lines.
Yes. Yep. Weeks before the movie came out.
Wow. Way to use a Juilliard trained actor.
Literally.
And mind you, pre-pandemic as well. So it's not like it was COVID or anything either. They had that man recording in his damn closet. Horrible.
I would just laugh when I got that email like, hey, we need you to record a couple lines today. Can you make it to the studio? And he's like, no. Guess I'll go in my closet on my, iPhone headphones or whatever I have laying around the house.
Straight up. And he had to fold himself in like 17 different places because he's enormous.
poor Adam.
Just to fit in there.
I need to see like fan art of Adam Driver in a tiny closet recording lines for.
Oh my god! Okay.
For the Rise of Skywalker.
Next time I have extra money, when my tax return comes back, I'll commission it for you, Scotty. I know so many fan artists. I've commissioned so much fan art.
I'm surprised it hasn't been done. Next thing. Honestly, I feel like it might have if we really looked for it.
And I do really love the art where like Kylo Ren's just very big.
Yes, you've said that before.
Maybe that's telling. It is telling. I like it.
My friend Claire draws absolutely filthy fan art where Kylo is enormous and Rey is tiny. So if you ever want to see some of it, Rise of Swallow is what she's known as.
Oh, Rise of Swallow.
Yeah, she has a Patreon and everything where you can see like things.
You can see the rise of Swallow, right? Putting the name into the work.
I love that. Yeah. I remember the Ben Swallow meme when that first came out. It wasn't even they had taken a picture of they taken a picture of the screen. Hello Buck. It was just the bootleg picture for so long, and still to this day, if you look up Ben Swallow, that same bootleg picture is still the one that pops up. Yeah, such good times. I miss those days. Yeah, it's sad though. Like I really feel bad for the Reylos with the whole Acolyte thing. I mean, in general, I think just the loss of that story, even if you didn't think it was the best, I think that it brought so much more to the table, a lot more than a lot of the other shows that had so much more to say than a lot of the other shows.
For sure.
And I think it's sad. And we all know why it was canceled. I saw Rebecca Henderson had posted because there was something that had come out that despite the show being canceled for viewership reasons, the demand for the Acolyte
go up.
Exactly. And the demand for the Acolyte is still very much alive. So it's so clear why it's it wasn't continued. And I'm glad that Rebecca Henderson, for those who don't know, she played Vernestra, is married to Leslie Headland, is willing to say that, like, because it's so obvious, like, fuck you, Disney.
That
like,
story post where she put, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Like, why it was canceled. And it's like,
exactly.
Unfortunately, we know. And even I think it was oh god, this is taking me back to Acolyte talk. What is the actress's name that plays Osha? Why can't I remember it?
Oh my gosh.
Amandla Stenberg?
Amandla Stenberg. And
my tongue.
The actress that plays the Wolverine girl who plays Jackie. God, I'm so out of touch with this cast. Daphne Keane and Amandla Stenberg talking about like hashtag woke light in their comments of each other's like posts and stuff. And I was like, I'm glad they were having fun with it, but I'm like, I can't imagine how it feels like now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's sad. It's sad. It's happening in everything. Like it feels like the, I guess, mainstream has become so I guess bigoted and so right wing. Like it's become. I talk to people at work like about Marvel, and they'll just be like, "Oh yeah, I hate how like woke it's got," and I'm like, man, I used to only hear that.
Do you even know what woke means? Like define woke.
And
wasn't it Jane Fonda that recently said something to the effect of like, all that woke means is that you have empathy for other people?
Yeah,
exactly. But it's just so weird seeing it, because back then you could only find that shit in like the deepest corners of like the comments, and most people were like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're like, you're an actual asshole. And now it's just like the main opinion, I guess. It's fucking disgusting, actually.
It's not really an opinion. It's just like a throwaway. I don't like this, so I say this word, and that shows everybody that I don't like this and think it's bad.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and like I said, it's poisoning everything. I mean, Marvel, everybody saw their fun this week with the chair announcements announcing their cast. Did you know that despite this whole MCU narrative that people try to push, that it's just become all women, did you know that entire casting announcement there was only 4 women announced?
Yeah. Yeah, no, but that always happens. Did you know that they have done studies where they monitor like conversations of like groups of men and women, and they find that if women talk more than 1/3 of the time, not even half, 1/3, men perceive them as having dominated the conversation.
Oh my God.
My eyes can't roll back any further in my head. That
it's ridiculous, and it's just crazy like how much this narrative has spread. Like I said, it's poisoning everything. And I've seen it throughout the years with Star Wars, and I've talked about this on the podcast before. It started with like, it didn't start here, but like back then it was like people like Geeks and Gamers or like Mike Zero, that kind of, even Mike Zero at the start of his shit, he made The Last Jedi leaks. There was no agenda about, women are ruining it, Kathleen Kennedy, blah blah blah. There was no agenda from him at the start. It was Luke Skywalker is gonna pull a Star Destroyer out of the sky, and it was like all bullshit and made up shit. But at the end of the day, it wasn't like
taking me back
misogynistic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then even Geeks of Gamers, like when he started, it was like when The Last Jedi came out, there's video of him saying he loved the movie. I loved The Last Jedi. Rian Johnson was a great choice. And now he's like known for being the guy that, he lost me with nothing he said.
There you go.
Literally. And it's just risen so much where it's like before, when I was combating this stuff, like after The Last Jedi came out, it just felt so small, and then it's just grown bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah,
and
I know.
Part of me for so long, like before I came back to the podcast, was like, fuck this, then I'm not gonna like Star Wars then, if this anti-woke movement's just gonna become bigger and grow bigger. But then I after thinking about it and being on the podcast again, it's been like 17 weeks now, something ridiculous like that.
Go team. Let's take a moment for that. Go team.
The longest streak ever of This Is the Wayseekers. God, where was I going with that? It doesn't feel right for me to just walk away and be like, oh, fuck that. That's your guys' problem now. It's like,
yeah,
no, especially me as like a white man. Like I have much more privilege than a lot of these other, people within the Star Wars fandom. I can't even imagine if it was like, you are the actual minority group that's being targeted. You're actively watching Star Wars push away from marketing towards you and making stuff for you after so long of using you and seeing the way that Lucasfilm has kind of used people of color and queer people in the woke era, where people were more willing to be more accepting. Like I think back of like 2016 or like 2015 when gay marriage was legalized, like peak woke, when people were actually fucking cared. It felt like people actually cared about other human beings that were different from them. And now that that's not the mainstream, now that this dumbass bitch won the popular vote, now it's like, oh, we're gonna appeal to the other side. And it's just bullshit, because that means at the end of the day that you have just been using people of color and minorities to sell your dumbass product. It just feels so wrong.
That's why these places are so quick to be like, DEI out the window. Perfect.
Exactly.
They never cared.
But you know what they don't realize? They don't realize that what's happening is this is an extinction burst. This is a backlash against the social progress that was made. and it's not going to be like I don't think it's as popular as we think it is. I think it's just loud.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, it feels so much louder too when these companies are, you know, rolling back and pushing this idea further. Like I said, it just feels so weird to like be at work. I literally live in Las Vegas. Like it's known for like being a melting pot of like everybody in every culture. So it's just weird to hear this shit in my real life of people being like, oh, it's woke.
Oh, that we're so used to
hate
seeing in
that.
like comment sections online and then hearing them IRL.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird, especially because for people that knew me back then, that was such a big approach of my content after The Last Jedi was like, no, fuck you guys. Like we're not gonna sit here and pretend like there being a pink-haired, you know, lady in a dress being in the movie ruined it.
Holdo.
Okay, Holdo. Yes. If you think that, no, I knew her name. I was just trying to.
No, I had no idea who you were talking about. It's like a pink-haired lady. Like, oh, Holdo, duh.
Yes, love you, Holdo. Also, her hair is purple, but I always get confused because in all her merch, as you can see, her hair is pink for some reason.
Well, and we're live, so I wasn't gonna correct you. Like how you can normally cut me out being like, Austin, her hair's purple. Normally, that's usually gets cut out. But I was like, we're not gonna do that because this is live. There's no cutting. I'm not gonna call you out.
It's just, yeah, it's ridiculous. There's literally a fish admiral, but the lady with purple hair, the admiral with purple hair, is a step too far.
Well, and you mentioning like kind of how Em was saying it's really loud right now about all that negativity, and you mentioning, you know, wanting to make sure that you do use your voice and your platform that you have and the privilege that you have to continue to speak back. It reminds me, and this is a little bit more minuscule, but it reminds me specifically going back to the Acolyte, where it was just like negative every day after every episode. And then finally, after like maybe 3 weeks of that, specifically on Twitter, I just remember everybody like, that's when the follow chains started. That's when it was like, okay, we're gonna have to be loud back to actually combat this, because they're just being loud to be loud and complain essentially. So we need to they're drowning out the good conversation. So clearly we need to push the good conversation, and not in a toxic, like fake way. It's not like we're like, this is so amazing and they're completely wrong. We can still have constructive conversation about, you know, things that we're more critical on and things we're more positive on, but it's just more of like it getting drowned out by all that negativity, and we have to find a way to combat it.
The thing that drives me nuts about the whole Acolyte negativity thing is the fact that these people are pretending that they are the real Star Wars nerds and being so fucking negative. That TV show was made for Star Wars nerds.
Yes.
Legends nerds too.
That show had cortosis in it.
Yep.
The lightsaber duels were mind-blowing. Those are fucking top tier.
The best.
Like, you know, and it's like, oh, you want to pretend to be like some like manly, like Neanderthal Star Wars fanboy, and you are bashing the show that gave us those duels. Like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Right. Some of the like lore pulls, like just some of the most like species that were mentioned like one time in one book that no one read, and it's like, come on now, like this is meant for you guys. This is meant for the nerds.
And like even the fact that there is a key theme in the show that you will not necessarily pick up on unless you have read supplemental material like the High Republic, because you know, over the course of the show we see Soul, you know, take this journey from being this like idealistic Jedi to this fallen, corrupt person who's like sort of selfishness has brought him to his end. But if you know Vernestra from the High Republic,
Mhm.
and then you see her in the show and you see her actions, you realize she already took that journey.
Mhm. Exactly. But it's not what they meant. They don't want the books with women in it. Come on.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, I just meant like in the general principle of like being rewarded for being a huge content nerd, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Well, and that's funny too, because we talked about that forever ago on the podcast. And I remember, Austin, even you made a short about how Leslie Headland cares about legends. So get excited about this show because, and like Em already mentioned, we got Cortosis, we got Baldemnik, we got
Yep.
Plagueis, literally on screen. For the
Yes,
first time
Yeah.
ever.
on screen, Plagueis. Come on. Oh, it drives
no-
me up the wall.
And like, no, everyone wanted to share that on Twitter.
Mhm.
Like Plagueis was all over Twitter.
Yep.
Exactly. And they were like gearing up for like a Plagueis Yoda, not exactly like a matchup, but like Plagueis and Yoda were obviously going to be a central part of this show if they continued. And it's like, come on, man. Like, no show starts perfect. I have my criticisms of the Acolyte, but it's like that show would have been fucking brilliant if it got to continue. Just
Yeah.
fucking brilliant. The thing I always think about is at Star Wars Celebration, you know, they have the big panels on the big stage that fit like 20,000 people or whatever the fuck. And 20,000 people, that seems like a very big overestimate. But
Whatever, it's hyperbole. It's fine. It's hyperbole.
it fits all these people, and they have the big panels, and then they put like the book panels in like a small little room. You know, maybe 10 people can fit in there, and you know, they don't put much energy or effort towards it. Leslie Headland and Rebecca Henderson came out at the High Republic panel. Oh, they came out as queer. No, they
I
came
literally just came out of the dark there.
We've been new, honey.
they went out on stage at this small High Republic panel to be like, hey, we're gonna be respecting what you guys have. And at that panel is the first look of Vernestra Rowe. Like,
Yeah.
Leslie Headland understood the importance of showing that character first to the people that actually read that character and loved that
fans.
character from the
Yeah.
books, the fans. It's like,
Yeah.
it's just so weird that people like the general, well, I don't want to say the general idea, but like on the internet, a big idea that people have is Leslie Headland doesn't understand Star Wars. She wants to make it her own, blah, blah, blah. And it's like,
No.
that's how you know that like these are not serious people. Like, we're not here to
Yeah.
have a serious conversation about it. Like, that's a big reason why on the podcast, you know, like people may say I'm negative or whatever, but at the end of the day, I think it's important that people can see that we can have criticisms of these shows, especially young impressionable men that, you know, they turn into they turn to all
Incels.
this misogyny and shit because that's what they're sold. Like, oh, Star Wars sucks. Well, if we kick out the woman, it's actually going to be really good. I think that it's important to combat that, where I can come on this podcast and be like, I thought that was fucking garbage, and talk about why I thought that it was garbage from a writing standpoint, from a creative standpoint, from a production standpoint, and not because a woman is the president of Lucasfilm, or there's women involved, or there's queer people, or there was a non-binary person. Somebody used they them pronouns in the animated
Basil.
cartoon. What the fuck was it?
Basil,
Oh,
the
yeah.
they them wrote
Oh
in.
yeah, I was thinking of the Jedi from Tales of the Empire. Remember that, where even libs of TikTok literally posted that clip
Oh my god.
to be
Well,
like,
I
look, this
loved
is what
it.
they're selling your kids. Like, oh my god, dude. Like, I want there to be more space for people to be able to be like, no, I think the Mandoverse is going way downhill, and not turn around and say it's because Kathleen Kennedy took over and is at the helm now of the Mandoverse,
sure.
controlling everything.
Well, I mean, we are always going to make a space for that, right? Like
Yeah.
us and our friends who create Star Wars content. Like, you know.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that, and this isn't to call anybody out or like, you know, this is people creators can do what they want to do, but sometimes there is this idea that if you are negative about something, you have a criticism, you're lumped in with the misogyny and the hatred. And I don't blame people for doing that, because you kind of have to be on edge, like if somebody comes to you and says, yeah, I think Rey sucks, the first thing you're going to think about is, okay, do you also hate women, or like do you have reasons for that? It makes sense to be on edge like that.
Okay, but can I just say, no one could ever have a reason good enough for saying that. It just doesn't exist.
I don't think so.
Rey is a perfect baby angel.
And we're very excited for her return. Hopefully, we'll see it soon.
Please. Like, I think I'm still sad because I remember when they announced the Rey movie, and then the Dawn of the Jedi, and then the Heir to the Empire movie by Dave Filoni. When they announced that, it felt like they were like acknowledging, oh yeah, we've made some premature announcements. We know that our movie announcements have not been the best. So guys, this is the real deal. These are the ones. And they did not. That's not the case. The Rey I'm still confused. Like, it was supposed to come out this year.
I know.
I'm like, what do you mean you still don't have? You're still not 100% on a writer. Like, come on.
We just honestly give us Rey doing her thing. Let's see the yellow lightsaber for more than 2 minutes, maybe. Like, there's definitely something set up there, and that's the thing. Is if that movie doesn't come out, if it doesn't happen, it's going to validate all those people that have been creating all the noise online, who have been saying from the start that, whatever they say about Rey that's negative, that I'm sure is not valid criticism. But that's why I almost feel like I have to root harder for this movie than, like, I'm excited for it, but I feel like I need to be loud about it so that way it doesn't get canceled. We see that there's people who are excited for it and want to see this movie succeed.
Yeah.
100%. I want it to succeed. That's the thing that I never understood, and like this is a big reason why I hate how they treated Rose in The Rise of Skywalker. There's been times when I'll voice my criticisms and then wrong. Oh my god, Crystal, literally this shit happens to me all the fucking time, dude. I'm like, come on. Come on.
Speaking of, we just had a good people on both sides comment, and we were like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And it was about Andor. Talking about the Andor series. You're gonna hit us with good people on both sides.
Yeah. Yeah, we had made a comment about like how, because we were talking about Andor relating to the real world, and Tony Gilroy basically saying it's not like I'm looking at a newspaper. What I'm doing is there's stories and history repeats itself, and that's all that's happening. Right. Yeah. And I guess that commenter thought that we were actually criticizing the previous administration and relating them to the Empire and not this current one. So that's where that person's comment came from.
Okay. That person needs to go outside and touch some grass and watch the brown people in their corner get kidnapped by ICE.
Literally. I see. Yeah, it's bad. Gosh,
anyway,
I always
kidnapping is bad.
Kidnapping is horrible.
You were talking about Rose being sidelined.
Yes. Rose being sidelined. It pissed me off so bad because at the end of the day, even if you didn't like Rose in The Last Jedi, which another case of like you really don't have much reasons for that one.
You're trash.
Misogynistic.
Exactly. Even if you didn't like her character, why would you want a character to be sidelined in the next one rather than given the chance to be something more? Because we've seen this happen, especially in the animated shows we talk about all the time. Ahsoka. People didn't like Ahsoka. Imagine if people
Hated
didn't like
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka, and then in season 2 they just sidelined her. They're like, we're not really gonna. No, you know what they did? They doubled down on her character and then built her up to be something incredible to the point where now those same people are championing her as like the female character of Star Wars. Like there can be no other. So
she's an interesting character in that sense, because correct me if I'm wrong, I don't see a lot of like misogynistic stuff about Ahsoka.
At least these days.
Yeah.
Well, yes, these days, which I think is really interesting, because I'm like, what did they do with her that these people
They
that
connected her? If we're really gonna look at it, they connected her deeply to a man's story, and
well, okay,
you know, she's like a vessel for Anakin's fall to the dark side, I guess. So it's like people see her as just serving his story. That's why I like,
and as an extension of him too, like in the way that some parents see children as an extension of themselves, like as Anakin's Padawan, like she is literally like his legacy because her skill comes from him.
Oh God, and they even use those words in the Ahsoka series they talk about.
yeah. So that's why. And I think too, like if there was a season of Ahsoka that came out where like they were actually serving her story and not Anakin's story, or like connecting it to Anakin, I think people would be like, this bitch, like they would fucking hate
Ahsoka's taken over.
Right.
Kathleen Kennedy put Rosario Dawson in the #1 spot. She'd be the new fucking Brie Larson.
Exactly.
All the grifter videos.
Yep.
Exactly. So yeah, it's just ridiculous. But with Rose, it's like they could have like continued her story and gotten it to a point where maybe more people enjoyed her story, but instead we won't have that, at least in the Rise of Skywalker, because they sidelined her and gave her role to someone that J.J. Abrams had a baseball bet with to be in the movie. So,
and although, you know, to return to the original theme of this discussion, fan fiction.
Bye, Blue.
Bye, Blue.
Bye, Blue.
Good to see you.
So there is an artist in the Reylo community known as After Blossom. She also has a professional art career. She does book cover illustrations and lots of other cool things. But she made a little book called Where's Rose? And it's an imagining of all of the things that Rose gets up to during the events of the Rise of Skywalker.
That is so cute.
And it's her and Claude. And a family of porgs. It's like a mom, a dad, and 3 babies. And they go all around the Star Wars universe. Like they visit Mustafar, they go gambling on Canto Bight. They do all kinds of fun things. And it is a wonderful piece of fan art. And if you have the chance to find it ever, I highly recommend taking a look. And then the other thing I wanted to plug was, so Eric Elliott, our fan in the chat and our friend of the Honest to Claude show,
literally Claude,
yeah, has been talking about Ray Rose in the chat. And I love Ray Rose as a pairing, also known as Desert Rose. That's another name for the pairing.
That's such a pretty name too.
I know,
Desert
right?
Rose.
Yeah. And I did write a Ray Rose fic. It is among my works on AO3 if you'd like to read it. It is rated T for teen.
God, taking me back with that one. Rated T for teen.
And the premise of the story is it is the celebrations post Rise of Skywalker. So everyone is back at the base and they are celebrating their victory. And Rey is discombobulated and traumatized, obviously.
Understandably.
So Rose comforts her by telling her a fairy tale.
Oh, I love that. I need that. You know what always makes me mad about Ray Rose, and sorry to be the negative Nancy again. I have a brand.
Time to talk about why I hate Desert Rose.
No. I love the ship. My issue is this: at the celebration panel, they had Kelly Marie Tran out. They had Daisy Ridley. They had the whole cast except Adam Driver. He's never at these fucking things for some reason.
He hates crowds.
Oh, there we go. I'm sure. Yeah. Anyways, you
guys, he's probably autistic. Let's be real. Anyway, go on.
They literally said J.J. Abrams, Daisy Ridley, Kelly Marie Tran. They said they kind of hyped up like this relationship between Ray and Rose, not like a romantic relationship, but
a friendship.
Yeah, we're gonna have like girl power scenes with them. They even showed a still of a scene they shared. Not in the movie at all. I don't think they actually interact at all.
I mean, we could.
The most offensive part, to be honest, is in the actual movie. The shot or the scene where it's like Rose is like, "Oh, I wish I could join you guys" or whatever, and Finn does the fucking shoulder touch, like just grabs her shoulder, and it's like, it's fine. I can't remember exactly what the dialogue was, but I'm like,
no problem, Junior.
Yeah,
like the big kids are going on this one.
I hate it, especially because if you don't want Finn Rose to happen, that's not where the story goes. That's fine, but like there's other ways to do it. The book, I can't remember the name of it. I think I always get it confused with like Rebel Rising. It's the one by Rebecca Roanhorse.
Is it Resistance Reborn?
Resistance Reborn, yes. They handle that beautifully, where like Poe's basically like, Finn, why are you such a slut? And then he's like, I just there's different cases, but like honestly, I see me and Rose as more of a friend. I see me and Ray as more of a friend, and it's like it's just there's ways to handle it other than like literally doing a friend zone scene. Like
literally friend zoned her.
Like there's that book Resistance Reborn did so many things that were so much better than episode 9.
I was gonna say, and mentioning Finn makes me think of Poe, and then Zori Bliss as a character. And she's just there to be like, yeah, Poe loves women.
And also ran drugs.
Yeah, that was weird and random. It's like,
that was unfortunate.
Yeah, it's like he literally has a fucking comic, an entire comic book about his past that went on for like 2 years. If I'm not mistaken.
The one with like the I don't remember the name of the tree, but it's got like the Jedi tree outside of his house, and that's like why he's a good pilot or something, or helped contribute to that.
Yeah, because Luke gifted it to his parents. Yeah, it's a whole backstory. It goes all the way to his childhood. The fucking I think it's called Free Fall or something like that. The Poe Dameron book that they released after Rise of Skywalker. That poor author, I think Alex Segura, the fucking stretches that he had to do to make that story work, where it's like, oh yeah, we've seen his entire life. There's like this small space where he lived on.
Dark corner.
He got in with the wrong crowd, and he does a decent job of like fixing it, but it's like, just I'm like, why did they what was the reason for making him a spice runner in the first place? It's also like not even talking about like the racial stereotypes that goes with, like, come on now.
Very so disappointing.
Weird. So weird. And to mention it in the last movie too, it's like, I don't know what that was about. Like if they didn't know that there was a comic about Poe, but that shit ran for like, it literally ran from Force Awakens all the way to The Last Jedi, because I remember there was, by the end of the run, there was scenes after Last Jedi where they're all in the Falcon together, and like we saw the direct aftermath of like them all being in the Falcon at the end of Last Jedi. There's scenes with Leia and Chewbacca in it.
And this is in the comic.
So it went for like 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I was barely in the online fandom, and I'm somewhat familiar with these stories. So like,
exactly.
it was the thing.
Exactly. I don't understand it at all. One thing.
Can I just say one thing? One thing I like to nerd out about is that the Poe Dameron comic is where we learned what Leia's call sign is.
What is it? Because I
What
don't
is
know.
It ends with Naboo Endor Ben.
Oh, that's sweet.
I love that. Isn't that too where we learn Poe always wore this like ring necklace? We learn that it's from his mom, and he plans to give it to his future partner,
husband Finn.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. I was waiting for it. Like, when they said it, like that was
obviously.
That was like, come on. He was supposed to get the ring at the end. He got the jacket. Give him the ring.
Yeah, exactly.
No, Brian JJ had to get Felicity in there somehow or somewhere. So true.
Yeah.
Oh, this just goes back into the whole, like, this is why fanfic is so great, because we can tell these other stories that may not be what happened in the movie, and it could be what we wanted to happen, or it could just be like well, what if things went a different way? There's so many possibilities in ways that it can go. And I mean, this is just a big thing about fanfic. Like, for those of us who are queer, like, half the time, this is where we get our stories that we feel represented in.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. And like slash pairings are so important to fan fiction. I mean, the entire genre of fan fiction started with slash pairing.
Okay. And for those who aren't big into fan fiction, not me, because I'm very well versed, what is slash?
So slash usually refers to two characters of the same sex, usually male. So the modern, I mean, you can find examples of fan fiction in history, obviously. You know, like there's people were often taking stories, remixing them and making them into new things, you know, like fairy tales and Shakespeare and all of this, right? But the modern form of fan fiction is considered to have started with people who shipped Kirk and Spock in Star Trek.
Where's Coop? We're talking about Star Trek now.
We know
just saying. So that is considered to sort of be the origin of like modern fan fiction, of where it all began. And so there is this very deep-rooted tradition, and this was especially among women. This was like a lot of this was being written by women. And so male fan fiction pairing, you know, that is mostly composed of women who are interested in it, is like the classic flavor of Kylex. That's right. Crystal's talking about Kylex in the chat. You know, so that's the original sequel trilogy, you know, pairing that people male pairing that people are into, and Storm Pilot, obviously. But yeah, so it's like queerness has always been a part of fan fiction. It's always been incredibly important. And yeah, it's definitely given marginalized people a way of living inside of these stories that they admired and couldn't always get placed in canon, right?
Exactly.
They just couldn't fit. Sorry.
Exactly. So as Disney and Lucasfilm try to push farther and farther away from those marginalized groups, just remember it's never ever going to exclude them, because there's so much. There's so much. Yeah. Like,
well, and I mean, and especially the Reylo community. Like, I mean, I remember one time somebody did a Twitter poll for the Twitter Reylos to see like what sexual orientation people were, and like 2/3 were queer of some flavor.
I remember that.
Like, the Reylo fandom is incredibly queer.
It's funny because, well, it's not funny, it's sad actually, how a lot of the times the Reylos are like mischaracterized as like racist, homophobic because it's like straight pairing. People loved to bring up the idea that it overshadows Storm Pilot and all this bullshit. It's just funny because like I always would hear that claim, and I'm like, I'm deep within the Reylo community, and I don't know one of these motherfuckers that is straight. So like,
yeah, it's true. It's true. We're all some flavor of queer.
like, I was like, and there's always, you know, situations, just like every fandom, there's always that one. But like the
Anywhere
Reylo
there's
fandom,
people, because like there's always going to be like shitty people, like no matter where you go. But I think it's like you have to look at what the majority is doing in order to really get the idea of the characteristics of a community and like to really see what it's like in there, you know?
Yeah. Right. Because like you know, like when there has been like cases of like a Reylo being found like racist or like making racist remarks, everybody bands together to be like, fuck no.
Oh, we boot them.
Not allowed.
We've booted them. We've booted people for being MAGA. We've booted people for being anti-choice. We've booted people for being TERFs. And we've booted people for being racist. Like, we're not interested. We don't want you to be part of our community. There are certain authors that like we don't rec. Like we don't give recommendations for their fics. Like if someone's like, oh, you know, like I'm looking for a fic about, I don't know, like an arranged marriage with Ben Solo as a senator, you know, whatever. And like if somebody's written that, but they're on the blacklist, we don't tell people to read their fics. We don't support them.
And that's a great thing that I feel like people don't talk about enough with like Reylos. Like that is so admirable. If only more communities did things like that.
Instead of making them the most popular YouTuber in the entire space.
Yeah, no, we're not. The thing is, we're not interested. Like, we just acknowledge that those are shitty people. Like, we don't want you at our party.
Yeah,
you know,
they don't deserve a seat at the table.
No, we don't want you here. And we literally have said that to people. We've literally been like, we do not want you here. You're going on our block list. Goodbye.
Right. Yeah. And
well, I mean, even in publishing, like one of the people who's published, who's been published in romance, she was actually booted from the Reylo fandom for racist depictions of Finn in her fics. And there's actually a popular booktuber, Cindy, from the channel Read with Cindy, and she sometimes talks about like published Reylo. She actually enjoys like Reylo fandom drama, like when the whole thing happened with Kate Corain and stuff. She did like a huge video, but she was talking about Lana Ferguson's books as published Reylo, and I've told her several times in her comments, I've been like, we don't claim her. She was booted from the Reylo fandom for racism. So don't talk about her in the same breath as actual Reylos like Ali Hazelwood, because she does not belong.
Right. Yeah. There's been a lot of cases, like, I mean, people that just are, you know, there's been like cases of, you know, parents that come on to Reylo Twitter and air out kind of ableist ideas for their own kids, that, you know, there's somebody that was excommunicated, a big deal in the Reylo community, that actually got to interview Ryan Johnson. And
she was a piece of work.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's out.
Yeah, she's out. And
she's out.
You can see too, like with those people, like they'll make new accounts or whatever, and it's immediately like they're immediately met with like, no, you are not allowed in here. I see it all the time. Like, I'm not even deep within the Reylo community like that, but I still see the stuff. I still follow. Like, I never unfollowed anybody or anything. Like, I still
Reylo,
follow all those
always
people.
a Reylo.
Yeah, like I see all them talking about it. I love it.
But yeah, I mean, Crystal says, every time I read an Ali Hazelwood, I can't help but picture Rey and Kylo. Well, there you go. Well, I hope that's a happy experience for you. I hope you like it.
I took it as a happy one.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Let us know, Crystal, if you did not mean it in a happy way.
Yeah. But
Is
yeah,
it-
no, I have to say, like, honestly, as someone who's part of the Reylo community and has been for like years now, it's so unique among online communities. Like, it's full of, it's got people of all ages. Like, we have people from all the way out in their like early 60s, like all the way down to like, well, I mean, we don't talk to anybody under 18 because we don't like mess with minors, but you know, like we have people like in their like early 20s. And, you know, again, like I said, like so many queer people. We have people who are, you know, just from all walks of life. And yet there's a lot of harmony. Like, we get along, we support each other, we lift each other up, we encourage each other. You know, if someone is like, oh, I've never written a fic before, what we're like, you know, if you want to, if that's your dream, do it and post it, and we will retweet it and kudos it and give you comments on what we love about it. Like, it's just such an uplifting place. And it's, I don't know if I can exactly explain like how it grew that way, like what it is about this Star Wars ship that attracted all of these incredible people, but I'm glad that we found each other because
100%.
it's such an amazing group of people.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw
bye,
that.
Eric.
Oh, bye, Eric. I hope you have a Zillow night as well.
We've been waiting for the Zillow comment.
But like literally, we saw the Reylo fandom in action today. Just liking and reposting that you were going to be on the episode.
Oh yeah,
like, watched it happen in real time. The blue butterflies that popped up in my notifications were like, yep. And it's much appreciated. And it's literally that community that you're talking about, like just how much of a community it really is.
Truly. It's like so supportive.
Yeah.
And another thing I wanted to talk about, if you don't mind, is in the chat, Crystal mentions that Reylo is a sister ship to a ship that she loves. And
is it Jin Cassian?
Yeah.
How did I know?
Oh, I was confused for a second. I was wondering.
Well, there's also Qimir too.
Yeah.
Qimir too. So I just wanted to talk about sister ships because I don't know how much people know about them or like know about how it works.
I didn't put it on the screen because I had no idea what it meant. So please educate.
I knew about it, but I didn't know. Like I actually didn't know that there was much sistership within like Star Wars. I always thought it was like other fandoms, like who's the ones from like Stranger Things, that cheerleader and
Hellcheer,
yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, sorry.
For sure. Yeah, no, but I mean, so there are some sister ships within Star Wars. Oh, I was wrong, Crystal says.
Oh,
sorry,
it's not
Crystal.
Jin Cassian.
Who is it? Is it Qimir?
It's probably No, I know who it is. It's from Avatar.
Zutara.
Yes, Zutara. I was about to say I knew it was from Avatar.
There we go. Okay.
Before I even saw your comment, I knew Crystal.
There you go.
I'm sitting here reading it. I'm like, let me make sure everybody pays attention. Let me highlight the comment. I'm just reading it to myself over here.
Okay. So, yes, exactly. So, like Crystal says, they have things in common. They're enemies to lovers. But a sister ship can have different features in common aside from the trope. Like, I mean, like Hellcheer, for example, which is Chrissy and Eddie from Stranger Things. It's the idea of like, you know, like a good girl and a bad boy. That is also a dynamic that exists in Reylo and makes it a sister ship. And even just if the ship is persecuted, like we will ride for them. If it's like an unpopular ship in a fandom, if it's a ship that people tend to like deride and mock, we'll often like band together to support.
I remember that
shippers.
with Hellcheer.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I forgot Hellcheer was getting flack, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And so, you know, so you get, and then of course there's the ETL ships like Haladriel, which is Halbrand and Galadriel from Rings of Power. There is, what else? Who else are sister ships to Reylo? Can you think of any, Austin? It's like
Wasn't
Galadriel, Oshimir, Helchir. Oh, Darklina. Which is the what are they called? Is it Shadow and Bone? With the Darkling and Alina.
This is a Star Wars podcast by Star Wars fans.
sorry.
For Star Wars fans.
I mean, we started talking about Buffy, so I can't say that.
Well, and Spuffy is another sister ship for the Reylos.
Could we technically say that Vostress is a sister ship? Because I feel like they're not enemies. Are they
I
enemies?
feel like wouldn't it be Obi-Wan and Ventress that's more?
That's true.
Oh, that was pre-stream conversation. What I say, obstress.
Obstress.
Someone please tell us in the chat the
if there's an official
for Obi-Wan and Ventress. Even if there's not an official one, give us a name because we can't think of nothing.
Exactly.
What's wrong with obstress? You know,
a lot. It's stressing me out. So
honestly, literally.
But yeah, so that is a phenomenon that happens. Oh, Brian is so sweet. His daughter got a Helchir photo at Fan Expo. He's joking. Grace.
I love Grace.
I know. Oh, she's such a sweetheart. Yeah. But yeah, so you'll have Reylos who ship those other pairings, and they also will sometimes write for those other pairings. And yeah, and that way, our content just multiplies.
Right.
I love that. So cool.
Yeah, I love it. I love it a ton. I think at the end of the day, this conversation has taught everyone that fan fiction is important. It's one of the best parts of Star Wars. It saves the day many times.
Truly.
Brings us together, makes us feel included. And
represented
exactly. So I don't see any reason that I know we said we were going to talk about the pros and cons, but I think this is just the pros.
I mean, are there really that many cons?
I don't think there's any. I mean, I'm sure there is. Like,
well, I mean, like I said, like sometimes people fall into bad representation. Yeah. People have bad ideas. Mm-hmm. Like someone wrote a Proud Boys themed one time.
God.
Yeah. It got taken down. Somebody else was writing an AU that takes place in the antebellum South.
Oh God.
Yeah, no, we don't. A concentration camp, like.
Oh. Ooh.
Yeah.
Do not want. But again,
no.
But again, as I said, but here's the thing: is that because we're part of a community, it means we can discuss these things, right?
Exactly.
And the thing is, I want to make it very clear that, we always give people an opportunity to learn. Mm-hmm. So it's not like, oh, you're writing a concentration camp AU, you're booted. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, you need to listen to people whose identities have a stake in this and listen to what they have to say and show that you're taking it on and seriously considering and internalizing what they're telling you.
Right.
If people double down and they're unapologetic, then we boot them.
Get the boot.
Yeah.
That's the thing is I've always, when the big situations happen and the drama starts, people come after. I don't even want to say they come after. It's like, if you're a shitty person, you deserve to have people be shitty back. In all those cases, it's always because they doubled down. They got called out for it and we're like, no, this is actually okay. And there's nothing wrong with it. And you guys are the issue. And, we see that all over Twitter.
Yup.
But the Reylos, the
Reylos hold it down clearly.
Yeah, the Reylos, that's the thing. That's what people don't realize is that Reylo is so ingrained in so many things. Reylos are always, they've band together. Like there's been charities that Reylos have supported in droves that don't even necessarily have to do with Reylo. It's just like, we're a community. Let's band together to support this thing. Yeah. Like you mentioned, if there's, ships that are, there's nothing wrong with it and people are being shitty towards them for their ship, the Reylos are there to defend and stand up. It's it's a great community, and so yeah,
we
you
do
can
yeah, we've done some charity events too where we'll encourage people to donate, and then if they donate and they show a receipt, we'll like write a fic for them.
Yeah,
That's
I've seen that.
wow, that's so sweet.
I've
Yeah, there
seen
was a
that.
lot of we did a lot of stuff to donate to abortion funds when Roe versus Wade was overturned.
Which is so
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. So it's a great community, and I think
All
every
great things.
online community should strive to be like the Reylos.
Thank you.
All great things to bring up in the future Reylo PowerPoint.
Yeah. I am gonna make it, you know.
Yes.
Oh, we're holding you to it.
That's not a promise, that's a threat.
2033. Here we go.
Listen, not to air out ideas on the stream, but I'm just saying there is a huge milestone for The Force Awakens this year that, you know, those two things could always go hand in hand, and
It's true. Yeah,
it's
maybe.
like 9 months away, so you know I feel like there's plenty of time.
I could do that for sure.
Well, Celebration isn't doing anything to celebrate it, so here we are.
Don't remind me.
Yes. Well, it seems like we're headed towards the end of this stream, but Scotty, you just brought up Celebration, and you know
like
this
this
is our
segue?
first. Yes. This is our first live stream, obviously, as we talked about. This Wayseekers Cantina is going to be a monthly show for now, where once a month we're going to do this, have a guest on or guests on. You never know. Stay tuned for surprises. But next month there will be no Wayseekers Cantina.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate, but that's because we're gonna be going live for 3 fucking days straight for Star Wars Celebration.
The Wayseekers Celebration Station. We're gonna be covering basically everything. We're gonna have some guests, and it's gonna be a really fun time. I'm really, really excited about it.
I bet.
Yes.
My sleep schedule is not, but that's why we have things like coffee
and melatonin
exactly
and PTO.
And PTO.
Yeah.
That part. So yeah, for the first 2 days it'll be 8 hours, and then the third day, you know, there's less going on, but it's still going to be, you know, hours of Wayseekers. And you know, in the past few years they've kind of slowed down with the live stream. You know, I remember they used to stream everything. I will never forget waking up spring break to the Last Jedi panel and just watching the excitement of them announcing the poster and the teaser. It was just amazing. It's something that we don't get to experience now because they don't show it in the stream. So our goal during the actual panels, like the Mandalorian and Grogu, Andor, Ahsoka, when they announce stuff, we're gonna be on it. We're gonna have everything open, and we're gonna be reporting it live and discussing it live, and then we'll have guests on in between the panels to discuss with us. So
yeah. And just like with Cantina, we want to have a community event with it because we're not at Celebration. You know, if we're not there, we still want to celebrate with our friends and celebrate Star Wars, the thing that we love. So we're excited to be adding to that. So we hope that you'll join us. And of course, we'll have more news coming out about it in the very near future, because I think we're 3 weeks out.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think if there's nothing left, Em, we want to thank you so much for coming on to the first episode of Wayseekers Cantina. It's been an absolute honor. You're always a great guest. I mean, it was like a no-brainer. It was like, let's get Em on. Come on. Like, so yeah, you were definitely a great first pick.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you so much for sharing this space with me. I really appreciate it. I don't take it for granted. I love being friends with y'all, and you know, this show is just such an honor.
We appreciate you. And make sure, if y'all don't already, make sure you follow Em. If we haven't already, we'll put her links in the description. But if you just want to let everybody know where they can find you.
You can find me at Hutsleia, HUTTSLEIA. I don't post very much on the Bad Place anymore. I'm technically there. But, you know, if you want to know what I'm up to these days, find me on Blue Sky.
Thank you, AJ the Finesman. Ahsoka's hilt should have won lightsaber lunacy. Valid. Not Count Dooku. But
listen, may the best man win, and I guess there's only
that's
one man.
You won,
because there's only one. But yes, please follow M and disregard Scotty for interrupting M to bring up some bullshit about Ahsoka's lightsaber.
It's fine.
Oh, Brian, that's such a good point. So happy to see M returning to our Friday nights. Yes, it's been such a long time. I feel glad that we were able to make this happen for that exact reason. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, everyone, if you haven't already, make sure you follow us at Wayseekers Pod for all your Star Wars content. Make sure you subscribe and like the video. And may the Force be with you always.